Welcome back to the Public Speaking Horror Show, where we help you slay the stage and survive the spotlight. Buckle up because today's guest knows just how to make your brand as unforgettable as your mic drop moment on stage. She is the powerhouse behind RBL Media, that's Rebel Media, because she's all about helping bold entrepreneurs and course creators ditch the ordinary and build brands that stand out, sell out, and slay. Based in Hawaii, she doesn't just design websites, she crafts digital experiences that blend strategy, storytelling, and killer design. With over a decade of experience as a creative director and digital strategist, she knows exactly how to make your brand go from meh to magnetic. So if you're ready to break the mold, own your voice, and turn your brand into a business powerhouse, you're in for a treat today. Welcome to the show, Pua.
Oh my gosh. Can I keep you and just anytime I need an introduction? That was so awesome.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So the first part of this experience today is called the Killer 13. These are rapid fire questions and just short answer to give us a little intro to who you are. We are so happy to have you here today. Are you ready to play the Killer 13?
I am so ready.
All right. Here we go.
All my Family Feud dreams coming true.
Yes. All right. Number one. If your brand had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh,
You haven't thought of that before? No.
you know what's funny? I do martial arts and I love watching UFC, and I'm always like, what would my walkout song be? But it changes every day.
What is it today?
Oh. Oh my gosh. The pressure. I can't, you know what? Also, like, I'm really bad at names of songs.
Oh, let's see. A walkout
Something
song.
with a super good beat. I know it's that. Probably from the 90s or 2000s era. I know it's that. Yeah.
I'm imagining like This Is Your Fight song, like that one, that anthem. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's rebellious enough.
Something like that, but like remixed over a beat.
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
I would actually,
Okay.
yeah, I'd have a DJ create something custom is really the answer.
Oh, there we go. Yes, of course. All right. A custom song. I love it. Okay. Number two. What's the most rebellious thing that you've ever done?
Oh my gosh. I'm kind of a prude. So I don't
What?
know. I snuck out of my bedroom window to hang out with my friends in high school. Like, that's like the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
Did
like
you get
follow
caught?
direction. I started out my own business. That's pretty rebellious.
Exactly. That is so big. I know. That's huge. That's huge.
I don't remember.
I love
if I
it.
got caught, to answer your question.
Well, the bedroom window, was it like up pretty high? Did you have to
No,
jump?
there was like a
Or is
screen
it
I had
just
to pop out of. And it's not like I went to do anything bad. I just went to like hang out with my friends at nighttime. And I
yeah.
think we like went to a beach close by and sat and hung out, and then I went home. Like, I was, yeah.
Oh, you're so good. All right. All right. Number three. What's the scariest website design trend that you wish would just die forever?
Long sales pages.
Oh,
Mm,
yeah.
mm,
Okay. Long
so
sales
scary.
pages.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good tip. All right. If you could steal the branding genius of any company, what would it be?
Oh, Nike.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Just do it. And their commercials are so good and
Mm,
like visually, just you
yeah.
keep remembering them.
It's like, I don't like everything that they stand for as a company, but like
Yeah.
the branding is just, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Number five. What's a completely useless talent that you have?
I can shake my eyeballs back and forth.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Can you do it now? Oh my gosh.
Give me a use for that because I haven't
Love
nailed it
it.
yet.
We're going to work that in. I mean, it's terrifying.
It kind of
So,
is.
all right. So good. All right. Number 6. I did not see that one coming. You're stranded on an island, let's say like Molokai or something. What's the one design tool that you would have with you?
Pen and paper.
Perfect. I love it. The simplicity of that. Awesome. Number 7. What's the worst thing someone can do on their website that makes you scream inside? I guess besides the design. Long pitch pages.
Blurry photos or
Oh.
only long blocks of text that no one's going to read.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Circa
Do you,
1990.
do you see that a lot out there?
Old websites for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your most used app?
Hmm. In business or in personal? They're
Mm,
different.
yeah, either
Both?
one.
Well,
Yeah.
so I'm an Instagram scroller. I don't post, like I don't actually use it. I'm terrible at using it, but I love to watch stories and I'm a doom scroller. And I think unfortunately that's probably my most used personal app. In business, I think I use Slack the most because that's what I use
Oh,
to
really?
communicate with my team, our
Oh,
clients. Yeah.
okay. Very cool. Number 9, what's your favorite place of refuge in Hawaii?
Ooh. Well, the ocean, period.
Mm,
Really, like any ocean in Hawaii is where I'm so super happy.
yeah.
I love one of my favorite spots is this little beach access in Waimanalo. But
Mm. Oh, beautiful. I love that. You're in the right place. Number 10, what's the weirdest thing you've ever Googled?
oh God. Uh I want to say probably it was something for my dog.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
what.
Yes.
How to get your dog to stop peeing on a pole. I don't know. I don't that's a that I will get back to you.
No, I relate to that one. We just adopted a little feral baby wild pig. And so we've been Googling, yeah, wild pig things. She's so cute,
Oh,
Henrietta. She's cute now. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in like a year, but yeah, so I relate to that with animal stuff. It's
yeah.
like, yeah, we're like, can pigs eat, you know,
Yeah. What happens if a dog
bananas
eats an
or what?
onion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right, number 11, your dream celebrity client just DM'd you. Who is it?
Mm. Okay, The Rock just came to mind, but he's
Oh,
actually my
yeah.
dream celebrity podcast interview.
Oh, he would be
Um,
so
it
fun.
would be so fun.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
would build his website too. Although I
Yeah,
feel
he
like he wouldn't need
probably
much.
he might not even have one because he doesn't need
I
one,
know, he
but,
doesn't need
just
one.
for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I don't know. I guess that's my answer.
I could see it being just one page and it just says, "I'm the Rock."
Yeah.
Like, that's all you need to
That
know.
picture
Like, it
from
just yeah,
black
that's it.
turtleneck
Yeah,
with the fanny pack.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So cute. Let's see. Number 12, you're in a horror movie. Are you the villain or the first to die?
Oh God. Both of these are awful.
Oh, no. Sorry.
No, you know what? I don't want to be the villain, but I don't want to die. I'll
Yeah.
be the villain.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good choice. I think it's a good choice. All right. Number 13. Here we go. Last one. Finish this sentence. A rebellious entrepreneur should always.
Do whatever the F they want.
Yes. I love that. Yes.
I love it.
Thank you, Pua. You
Thank you.
survived the Killer 13 and you killed it, I have to say.
So fun.
Absolutely. Cool. So, this is where we come to our more deep dive questions. And I also want to hear, though, if you've ever had an experience, because this is the public speaking horror show after all. Have you ever had an experience where a speaking opportunity that you had just kind of went sideways and it wasn't as good as you okay, your face says yes. And then what did you learn from it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so a lot of times people will tell me that the experience that I had, somebody in the audience that I knew or something was not the actual experience. So there is that, right? I'm like, oh my God, I
Mm,
totally blew it. I tanked. I should have said this. my armpit sweat was showing. All the things, right? And people were like, no, I thought it was fine. It was great. So I do think we're our
Mm,
own worst critic a lot of times. But I feel like I am I'll like dig myself into a hole is kind of my default where I'll just keep talking thinking it's going to
mm.
fix it when it really makes things worse. If I do that today, now you know why. Um,
No.
yeah, I yeah. What was the actual question?
Yeah, a speaking of event or something where things just didn't go the way you wanted.
Yeah. I'm lucky that a lot of the things that are coming to mind right now, in those moments, there was someone to bail me out. I'm thinking about
Mm.
something very recently where I presented with a group and I was spiraling. It
Oh,
wasn't
no.
a subject that I felt so super confident in, but I had been asked to come in and speak about it. And I had tried to prepare as much as I could, but due to my like unfamiliarity with it, I just started
Mm.
rambling. And the facilitator came in and was like asking me questions and posing questions to the group to kind of like reel it all in. And that was just, oh, thank goodness. Yeah.
What was the lesson that came out of that experience for you?
The audience participation can be a really beautiful tool to help
Mm,
reset and reframe and just realign a space,
mm.
which is something I would not have called upon before that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're feeling a little uncertain, you don't have to keep talking. You can like redirect it to the audience, right? And
Yeah.
then let them sort of shift the energy. And yeah, that's a really good tip for that as well. And everything else is so relatable. I think when we don't feel really firm in the content we're sharing, and we've been maybe what we've been asked to speak on is a stretch for us. I think two things like either maybe you just say no to that
Right.
one, right? Or yeah, or you ask like the organizers too, like, "I'm not really comfortable with that," or figure out a twist. Like, what if I spoke more on this? Or just super research the topic. But it's always hard when it's something new we've been asked to speak on,
Yeah.
I think, and you have to kind of get through that first time of figuring it out, whether you're comfortable speaking with it or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, we
I
do
can
tend to
share what
just
it was if
dig
that's
a hole.
helpful. I
Oh, yeah,
think
go
it could
ahead.
be useful. So, actually, a mutual friend of ours invited me to speak. She's a lecturer, a professor at a university, and she's teaching an economics
Mm,
class. And so she wanted me to come in and be a guest lecturer. And I was like, I don't know the first thing about college level econ, but I'm
yeah.
happy to come in and share if it can somehow relate to like branding, web design, whatever.
Mm,
So I ended up putting together I thought a decent presentation that I think maybe linked some things. It was sort of marketing focused, but I felt a lot of pressure to reconnect it to the economics
mm,
base. And because I wasn't so super familiar with that, I had trouble linking things, and so I was like,
mm,
I felt like I was floundering. And I actually don't think that I was because economics is such a broad topic. And,
yeah.
we ended up talking about like advertising and the gig economy and like social media versus traditional marketing. Like it was such a fun conversation, but
Mm,
only after it became a conversation instead of me
yeah.
feeling like I was up there trying to like lead the future economists of the world with no background in economics.
Yeah, it's such a good point too, how when you shift it, like you had a fine presentation, and I'm sure it was, totally fine. But then shifting it to the conversation, that's when, like you said, it just turned into a fun
Mhm.
conversation. And I think the best presentations or lectures, that's what they become. Whether it's a rhetorical question or not, it's like keeping it in that conversational tone and adding an element of fun, right? It always just elevates it no matter what, and it's gonna make it more compelling, but also they're gonna remember it more and have better takeaways, so, yeah.
Sure.
So I'm sure you killed it, it sounds like. It was yeah. So, RBL stands for Rebel, correct?
Yes.
So, what does being a rebel in branding and business mean to you? And, what, like, made you lean towards that as your own branding?
Yeah. This is the second I almost said third, but I think it's the second brand for this business. Um, and I have, so maybe, I don't know, 12 years ago now, I took a quiz. It was like an online quiz from, I believe, Gretchen Rubin. I could be wrong, but I think that's whose quiz
Okay.
it was. And it was some kind of personality test to help you figure out like how do you work best and how can people work well with you. And there was like
Mm,
the pleaser, basically like who do you feel accountable to? Is it yourself?
mm,
Can you self motivate? Do you need to feel accountable to someone else? Um, do you need information in order to get something done? Or are you just a rebel who listens to nobody and is accountable to nobody and you're the worst person ever to collaborate with or something, you know? Um, and I remember getting rebel on that. And so it became this thing with like, I had a former business partner and we would always talk about like, oh, my rebel tendencies and blah, blah, blah. And I just always really resonated with that
mm,
mindset of like, being an entrepreneur, you have to be able to go against societal norms, against the school system, against the traditional hierarchy of careers. And, so I just feel like anybody that resonates with the fact that they had to do something that was not normal to create this thing that is now allowing them to make an impact and make a living, those are the people that I want to attract into my life and my business. And so it was just kind of a no brainer to weave that in somehow. And RBL really is just Rebel without the E's because Rebel Media with the E's was taken. That
oh,
domain was not
oh, I
available.
see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so people are like, and people do call it RBL Media. And I like that because there's a little bit of mystery. Like, what does it stand
Yeah.
for? And I did a presentation for a group of high schoolers for their career day. And I was like, if you guys have
Mm.
any ideas on what that could stand for, like, let me know. And they were like, read between the lines. And I was like, oh,
Oh my
so
gosh,
good.
that's so good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I don't know. But yeah, that's really why I decided to name it that.
Oh, well, it's brilliant. And I mean, for speaking too, I think embracing kind of your rebel archetype works really well because you're not following the rules so much and doing what is expected and what you think you should do. And that enables you to, I think, be more confident and bold and have more fun. So I think it works so well too in branding, for listeners out there who are thinking about rebranding or how to kind of up level their brand a little bit, thinking about, how you can break some of the rules to stand out a little bit more and just embracing that more bold part of yourself, that part of you that will open up the window, push out the screen and go, escape your home as a teenager.
Absolutely. Totally. And I think people kind of mistake it as like, well, I have to have this really grungy, edgy brand in order to
Mm,
be rebellious.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
the fact that you are in this space makes you a rebel. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Like you said, really the most rebellious thing you've done is just, start your own business. That takes a huge amount of guts and, confidence and faith and, rebellion to do that. It kind of goes against, so much of how we're kind of brought up and, finding our right career and all of that, working a 9 to 5 job. So I think yeah, it's such a good point too, because rebellion it's actually very sophisticated. It's
Yes.
not a grungy movement
Hmm.
at all. It takes a lot of know-how and, boldness, stepping into that and clarity, all of those things.
Yeah. I love that you said that. That's such a good quote.
Mm. Good. Well, I wanted to dig into some of the horrors of like DIY websites and branding go wrong. Like you mentioned it a little bit in the Killer 13, but what are some of the most common mistakes on websites that just make you cringe?
Yeah.
And how can you help our listeners with some of that?
Well, first, if you have DIY'd your site, like please don't just think that you need to throw it in the trash. It
Mm,
is, we do what we have to do to get launched, and if
mm,
that means DIYing anything in your business, do it. Like that's admirable. And then once you do, it's it's a give and take, right? Like we don't want to start without knowing very clearly who we are, what we do, who we serve, who's your target audience, what is your what suite of services? What are your price points? What are your competitors doing? And I know that like people are like, oh, I don't want to look at them as competitors. They're collaborators. I'm the same. I love knowing exactly who's around me doing great work in the same space so that I can refer to them. Like that's not what I mean, but it's we have to be able to show up within that industry with a competitive, suite of services and price range. So just being very clear, like know all of that before you start building anything because it's a lot easier, it's a lot faster once you have that clarity.
Yeah.
And then once you do, there are tiny things that you can do to make sure that your site is actually working for you as a tool rather than just something that you think that you need to have in order to be seen as a legitimate business. And then the other part of that is like people will say, oh, well, as soon as I have a website, I'll be able to sell. As soon as I have a website, people will find me. Not really true. People need to know that you're there. So you need to have some sort of marketing strategy in place to get people to your website. And that doesn't have to cost you money, right? You don't have to run ads. You don't have to pay somebody to do your marketing, but you have to have a plan so people know that it's there. So that's one thing I just want to put out there.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, if you have a website and you're like, oh, I wonder if it is working for me, because I don't know how many people visit it, because I don't really get that many sales. Looking at things like, is your messaging clear? And do you have very clear descriptors of your brand, your services, your target audience high up on the page? So this starts to kind of play into some very basic SEO, search engine optimization strategies. Um, the little things like that, you'll notice small upticks in your site visitors. The other thing is, and this one a lot of people don't really do very often, especially when you DIY, but making sure that your images are labeled properly. So, when you Google something and you're like, you Google like Laura Reid, and all of these images of Laura show up in that Google image search. Those are being pulled from what's called metadata. And if I have an image of Laura on my website, but it's called IMG underscore 492, which is what it shows up as in my phone, that image won't show up on a search.
Oh, I had no idea of that.
Yeah. So like little
Ah,
things, right? And like all of these little things start to compound and
yeah.
slowly drive up how people find your website and the traffic that can come to you.
Mm.
So yeah.
That's why you're such a pro, though. All those details and things you might not know, just creating your own website. That's why it's good to consult, I think, with an expert too, if you want to take it to that next level as well.
Wow.
So, another thing that I know you help with is course creation
Yeah.
and creating, videos for your course, all of that, where it comes to public speaking. Can you share with us like some of your tips for that and what not to do? And it sounds like, did you have something else to add
Well,
to what we're just
it
talking about?
perfectly correlates with this.
Oh,
Um,
good. Okay.
so if you're a course creator, you probably have some video content.
Mm,
And I had a woman on my podcast. Her name is Bernadette Marciniak. She's a photographer and videographer in California, I think. And she told me something that blew my mind. If you have video on your website, you can increase your searchability. It was something like, I don't want to get the number wrong, but it was significant. Like,
mm,
you guys want, I'll find the podcast and share it with you.
yeah.
And so if you do have an online course, even better, right? Create a little promo reel for your course
Mm,
or anything else that you do, right? Just get on camera, talk for 3 minutes about what you do, who you serve, what they can expect, what they can find on your website, and put it there. Um, I recommend putting it on YouTube and then embedding that video on your website because YouTube is owned by Google and they are the top 1 and 2 search engines in the world. So
mm.
that will also boost your searchability just by being there and having a title and a caption that has all the right words. Like pro tip. But when it comes to courses, I really think any business owner ever on the planet can create an online course and utilize that to enhance your business, to serve your clients, to expand your reach, to serve more people, right? Because we can only let's say you're a coach, right? If you have one-on-one coaching, maybe you have group coaching, you can only do so much of that in the course of a day
Mhm.
and a week. But you can have a standalone course that reaches people worldwide without you having to expend any more energy other than what you did to just create it that one time. So, if yeah, that was actually my most recent podcast episode last week or this week.
Oh.
So check that out too, because it's a lot of times people are like, "Oh, I'm a this. I don't see where I could have a course. I'm a, electrician, I'm a realtor."
Mm.
There are so many ways that even a traditional trade could utilize something like an online course to enhance your client experience. And it doesn't take as much effort as you would think. You really just need a phone.
Yeah. And there's people out there, like I remember you sharing with me once, like sometimes the more, specific like topics or bizarre kind of random topics, but you're an expert in that can be really successful. And I think you
Yeah.
shared a success story with me about that. Yeah. Do you remember what
Was it
that
the door
was?
hanger?
I think
Oh,
so. Yeah, something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
I went to a conference, and this was a conference that was around creating memberships and communities. And this woman was speaking about like she has this thriving community and membership 4 times a year. She mails out door hanger kits and they're like seasonal. I don't know if she still does it, and I don't know if
Mm.
it's still 4 times a year, but she'll like jump on a live Zoom or something, and like everybody gets together and they paint their door hangers and they change it out every so often. And she's like hundreds of people in this membership. It's wild.
Wow.
And she was just such a like quirky woman. And I just remember being like, anybody can do anything they want. It's
Absolutely.
just a matter of doing it.
Yeah, just a matter of doing it. I mean, that's the thing. I think there's so many, myths we tell ourselves about why we shouldn't do it, and you've uncovered some of those. I mean, you said anyone with a phone can record a course. So, like, what are some of your tips for making it easier on yourself, but, just with the tools that you already have to make it compelling?
Yeah. Are the phones nowadays are just like, I mean, this thing, it's old. This is like 3 or 4 years old, and
Oh,
you can video
ancient.
in 4K, ancient, right? An
Yeah.
antique. Um, and the video quality is so good. It's so good. The one thing I would recommend purchasing, if you did purchase anything, which again, like you don't need to, is a mic of some sort,
Mm,
just for good audio quality. But really, like if you have good lighting, so if you can even stand in front of a window, you don't need to buy lights. And back here, I have a lamp, and that's on purpose because it actually brightens behind you as like a
mm,
subject. So it will kind of pop you out of the frame. This is a lamp that was
mm.
like by the bed. So like it
Yeah.
does not have to, again, like don't go out and buy like a huge studio setup. Make whatever space in your home look nice behind you from here to here. It's like 6 feet,
Mm,
and really just show up and share what you know openly, genuinely, with an intention to serve. Like your
mm,
content is always going to overshadow anything that might not be so super perfect with your production.
I love that. And I just read, an email that you sent out to your subscribers this morning, actually, and it was about course creation. And I love one of the things you said was like start with the end in mind
Mm.
and really, who that audience is and who you're serving, right? So important.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. I mean, we're all in the business of selling transformations,
Mm,
right? And so if you have that transformation in mind, that result, and work backwards, that's how you create your course content. That's also how you can write a
mm,
book. That's how you can create podcast content. Like you can chunk that down as small as you need to, because we're all just looking to provide enough value to give somebody some kind of transformation.
mm. I love that so much. Now, when it comes to public speaking, I would think most people are working from a bit of a script when they're creating their videos for a course or a video to put on their website. Do you have any tips that can help them still sound conversational, or are there apps that help like with a teleprompter, or should they just memorize what they want to say and try to say it? Or, what are your tips around that? And what's resonating with more people?
Yeah. This can be a point of like, not pressure, but this particular thing can stop people in their tracks,
Mm,
because they feel like, oh, I have to get my script perfect, and then I have to deliver it perfectly, and that's
yeah.
part of what holds people up as they start to like, oh, I didn't nail it, I have to do another take. Oh, like I wish I said this, I should have said this, I have to fix this. So what I would say is like, do not script out every word. You also share this advice
Mm,
when you're coaching people on how to speak. And this is something that like, and I've told you this before. When I start creating scripts for anything, a speech, a course, whatever, I will write down every word. Like
yeah.
in your slide notes, I will write full sentences, even though you've always
Yeah.
told me not to. And true story, you coached me for a presentation that I gave a few weeks ago,
Mhm.
and I didn't listen to you. And I wrote, it just feels better to me. Like I just write it. And then there's the pressure to say all of it. And it
Mm,
just totally takes you out of the moment. And then once you start to get into it, I realized that I just needed to trust my own knowledge of the content and utilizing the minimal slides that I had as just a way to sort of like remember the general concept, but trust and know that you know what to say. And then I didn't look at the notes
yeah.
again. So I think the same thing applies for courses. And I'm in a course right now. It's phenomenal. I mean,
Mm,
it's so good, but I see her reading a script in her
mm.
videos, and it is so distracting to me. And I don't know
Oh.
if it's just because of who I am, or like I pay attention to, like, I don't know, because she has, so her slides are in like the big window, and then she's like small in the corner.
Mm,
But the slides don't change very often. So like my eye keeps going back to her, and I just see her eyeballs. First of all, they're not looking at the camera, and then I can totally tell she's reading a script, and it
mm.
bothers me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah.
No, that's such good advice. I think that would bother me too, and I'm wondering why, because it's still you're getting the same content,
Right.
but I think what it is maybe is that we know we could read it too. Like,
Mhm.
she could
Good
just
point.
it could almost be an email or a PDF of some sort, but what we're paying for, right, is oh, yes.
So this is my favorite one.
Perfect.
Spent 2 hours in a meeting. This could have been an email. Spent two
Yes,
hours watching a
exactly.
course. It could have been an email. I agree.
Yeah, because 'cause we're not getting them then. It's different when you're having conversation, and even though, yeah, maybe they memorized a script or something. I mean, I'm sure the celebrities that do masterclass, that teach masterclass, like, I'm sure they worked from some kinda outline to start, but we know when they're sitting in that big leather chair, whatever they're doing, it's just like they're talking. I feel like they're talking to us. Like, I watched one with Steve Martin about comedy, and I loved it so much, and I felt like I was sitting across from him, and he was having a conversation with me about comedy and comedy writing, and I was like, it's so worth it, but if I saw, you wouldn't see him, right,
Right.
reading a
Right.
script, and, yeah, and that it's so distracting. So that's incredibly good advice, I think. And, so and also even, yeah, in your notes, if you're giving a presentation and you have your slides and you have your little, speaker notes there, the problem with having full sentences is I think you would do fine without them, just having maybe a couple keywords to remind you of what you're talking, what you're speaking about. So in your peripheral vision, maybe you could be like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this, this, this." But because you have those whole sentences, your brain is telling you, "But everything's right there. Like, look at me, right? Everything's right. Like, why are you talking from, your head and just speaking from your heart?" Like, because yeah, this is what you're supposed to be saying. So I think it does, it kind of battle, you create this conflict that doesn't really need to be there.
Yeah,
And if you just practice and then trust, then that goes away, right?
totally. And I think
Um,
you may have said this too, where like if you lose your spot, you're just, there's like that moment
lost.
where you're like, oh my God, where was I? And that's
Yeah.
my problem with teleprompters. Or like there's like a lot of
Yeah.
teleprompter apps. And there's actually now AI that can move your eyeballs. So like It allows you to read and like your eyes can be over here, but the recording will show your eyeballs. It's really creepy.
What?
Yeah. But
Oh,
again, like I think that people are like, "Oh, what teleprompter stuff should I use?" And I'm like, just don't do it."
yeah.
Like, if you're doing a course, you better be creating a course around something that you know enough to teach, but
Yeah.
trust that, you know?
Trust it and then know that it doesn't have to be perfect. I think as well. Like I've recorded things before where I've just gone back, I've deleted, recorded over and over because I decided I said too many times or I forgot what I was going to say for a second or that's okay because it just makes it more authentic. And then we know for sure you're not reading from a script, right? And audiences in general, I think, are very forgiving when it's authentic mistakes. You know what I mean? Like saying or forgetting yourself for a minute and just being like, "Oh, shoot, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, that's fine." Like that's much more forgiving than reading it perfectly and knowing that everyone knowing you're reading. So
I would
yeah,
bet
such good
that
tips.
AI in the near future is actually gonna start to add in ums to make it seem more human.
That's such a good point. Yeah, I can see that happening for sure. I mean, when I went from having to compete in Toastmasters speeches where literally, I always tell my clients, like, don't worry, no one's judging you. But in those, like, I'm literally being judged. And there's a judge that counts your filler words, like, they're counting them and deducting points from my speech. So I know that's happening. And then I went from that to learning how to do stand up comedy. And the coach I was working with for stand up comedy, she's like, Laura, this is like it's a really funny story, but you have to unlearn this like polishedness. Like you just speak like you're a human and make some mistakes and just be like yourself, right? And so I had to unlearn a lot of that and kind of find that balance, between this like
Mhm.
search for a perfect speech, which is what an organization like Toastmasters does, where I learned so much from them. I have, give them so much credit. But then there's that authenticity,
Yeah.
that just makes us human.
Which is what makes
So,
you such a good speaking coach because you have that beautiful balance
thank you.
too. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, oh my gosh, like this time went by so quickly. Before we wrap up and share where everybody can find you and follow you and learn from you, could you leave our audience with like one final insight or message that you really want everyone to know?
Mm. Do the thing.
Oh, I love
And
that.
there's this dichotomy that we often get stuck in, and it's this balance between what was it called? It's in the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, and
Mm,
it's like motion versus action. And
mm,
when we're in motion, we feel like we're doing things and we're being productive. But it could be like, oh, I'm just moving this pen from here to here and I'm just organizing my stuff and I'm in motion, but I'm not actually taking strategic action. But I feel good about myself, like I did something. And so really recognizing they're both very valuable. And I'm a planner. I love planning. Like if I have a goal, like let's say I'm gonna run the marathon. Oh my gosh, planning my running schedule is just the best thing ever. Running is the worst thing ever. But it's the one thing you have to do to become better at running, right? So it's like it, it's easier to say than to do, but as long as you have awareness around it, it's so powerful to actually get to where you want to go and create the things you want to create and do the things you want to do when you remember to still weave action into the motion that you're doing. Yeah.
That is such a powerful, meaningful message for everybody. It's funny. I think I just had reread that chapter in Atomic Habits not too long ago. But yeah, I love how you do, say it like do the thing. What I call it is like productive procrastination when
Totally.
you're just in motion. Like, oh, I need to watch one more course or I need to do that, read this book first or do this first instead of just do the thing, make mistakes, learn from it but just do it,
Yeah.
right? And that's what drives everything forward, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Where can people find you and stalk you in a non-creepy way, of course, and work with you?
Yeah. So everything can be gotten to. That wasn't English. If you go to my website, you can find all the rest, rblmedia.co. My social media platform of choice is Instagram. You wouldn't know it if you went to it right now, but I'm actively working on a plan where
Yay.
I can take action on it and be more visible there.
I
So you
love
can
it.
find me there at rbl.media. And yeah, shoot me a message. I love to just like jump on and strategize and talk about
Mm.
things. And if you want me to look at your website, like those are some of my favorite things to do. So don't feel like you can't reach out. I would love to support you and geek out on branding and websites and all that with you. So yeah.
Pua is the best. Thank you for sharing all that. Such a pro. And just full disclosure, Pua and I've worked together. She did my website, which I'm just so thrilled with and happy with. And it wouldn't be what it is without her and her expertise and creativity too. And just bringing that idea that, getting in touch with like what makes you, you and your brand you, and you don't have to do it the way everyone else does it. But then she also knows, what should be added to it that is just going to make it reach more people, right? So you can help more people. So yeah, I highly recommend reaching out and even just subscribing to your newsletter. I get so many great pointers and tips, all of that. But you in person, there's, so much value in that. Thank you for being here, Pua.
Thank you so
And that
much.
wraps up. You're welcome. Another episode of the Public Speaking Horror Show. Thank you for listening and keep slaying it, everyone. Thank you.